Let's get started!
Okay, Deadline, here's the potato you asked about.
Alright, bring it here, clever comrade.
What are you going to do with it?
I am going to f***ing kill it. Watch. What?
Deadline, that's just a potato.
How the f***?
Okay, while you're trying to kill that potato, I'm gonna go do some ranting for a while. Okay, here we go. Chapter 391. It's a Libra-focused chapter, featuring a massive swarm of Deadpools, as well as heroes getting squished under the massive swarm of Deadpools. Anyways, do take note that this video will not be a full recap. We are just gonna be ranting about things that don't make sense. But before we start, let me say a little something. So in the previous chapter, Sunbird is supposedly defeated. What I find odd about that is that here in the next chapter, there's no announcement of his defeat at all. Very much unlike when he first went down in chapter 352. The next chapter literally started with waves upon waves of characters voicing their opinion on Sunbird going down. Furthermore, another odd Sunbird related thing in this chapter is that he doesn't even have a solid focus here, he's just shown as far away as possible.
This fellow ain't dead.
I don't know about you guys, but I still think we are going to get a Sunbird Part 3 Ghost Rider mode.
Your soul is stained by the blood of the innocent.
Okay, that's enough Sunbird Ghost Rider Phase 3. Let's get on with the rant. Right off the bat, chapter 391 begins with a massive Deadpool swarm swarming around. So yeah, despite the swarms being barely anything but background scenery all this time, just casually filling space, and the heroes are handling them just fine. Not to mention Superman didn't even call anyone to deal with them, unlike what he did with Flash, and these guys with the radar didn't even give a single comment about them. But suddenly in this chapter, they're suddenly powered up in full force and quickly overwhelmed every hero within their area. Literally the moment the focus centered on them, they're suddenly a big deal. This whole sudden villain boost after a focus switch is basically the same thing with Sunbird just some time ago, in which he also disappeared from the plot for a while after entering Gunga Mountain. But the moment the focus switched back to him, he suddenly got a new heat bomb ability out of f***ing nowhere. Hell, it's also the same story with the scenes around Big Boy's holding cell, where the heroes are winning one time, and then the focus left them for a bit, and once it returned, they're suddenly in the back foot as if the villain suddenly powered up. But perhaps the best example of this is Deadline's black screen attack. As you can see, he's clearly having a tough time over here, but then after one quick break, he suddenly won. So yeah. For short, the villains are basically using camera tricks now. All they need to do is to wait for the focus to leave them. And once it finally returns, they'll get a sudden power up somehow. I gotta say, it's really f***ing funny how MHA villains literally had to resort to using camera tricks these days because they're so hilariously weak they can't even win on screen. This is f***ing top tier comedy. Anyways. Proceeding on to the manga rant. So our first scenes in the chapter are filled with all sorts of heroes screaming and shouting about how supposedly difficult it is to fight Deadpool clones, as well as some stuff that are meant to look like everything's hopeless and bleak. On the contrary, I find these panels absolutely f***ing funny, considering that just a little while later into the chapter we are literally shown one high school girl right in the f***ing middle of the f***ing Deadpool swarm, just effortlessly maneuvering through everything. Yeah, the heroes are having a tough time with the clones, but somehow relative beginner has absolutely no problem against them. MHA logic. But seriously, skill issue jokes aside, what the creator's clearly going for here is to have every hero conveniently pinned down, so that Tully can do her talk no jutsu on Libra and save the day completely uninterrupted. It's pretty obvious when you think about it. Now while yes, that Tully being the only person who can outmaneuver the Deadpool clones is really silly and make no sense at all. But then again, it's not like there's even any logic left in this final arc, especially with all these hero obsessions with saving mass murderers as well as an immortal Mary Sue who just won't f***ing die, among other things.
Why won't you die?
Anyways, moving on with the manga. So about the Deadpool battle as a whole. Okay, I'm gonna go summarize this real quick. The battle itself is insanely boring. Not only because Libra is an obnoxious piece of shit and Telly herself has barely any actual solid connection to her, but also because there's just literally no threat nor tension at all. Everyone knows no one's going to die, and the heroes are just going to win. Just like how they've been winning every single f***ing battle in this final arc so far. Hell, even here the heroes could just bring in the American jets, or the Japanese military, or Blue Cat can just summon her giant stone golems and finish the fight right then and there. But no, of course none of these will happen, because the plot says that Telly should be the one to beat Libra, and not them. Okay, so that's basically the rant. But before we end, I'd like to rant some stuff about Libra first. First of all, I have to say that this whole saving Libra, literally just on the basis that she has a sob story, is beyond bullshit and nonsensical. But since so many people already know this, I'm not gonna talk about this anymore. What I want to talk about Libra is specifically this little encounter. Back in chapter 375, Telly over here stated that Libra is super sneaky and fast, and that 4 people are required just to keep her in check. But now, we can clearly see here that apparently only 1 person is already more than enough. So yeah, whatever Telly said in chapter 375 is just one big fat f***ing lie. Okay, rant over. Overall, chapter 391 is a very short chapter, pretty much like most chapters these days. And pretty much like most chapters these days, barely anything happened, and the pacing is really slow. Anyways, since the next chapter is obviously once again gonna be Libra related, and about how she's gonna get saved because she's a very innocent mass murderer, expect to see tons of baby pictures suddenly dropping in, and a whole lot more tears and crying.
Here come the water slide.
What happened to my potato?
I think it's because your laser powers are too weak and you just put the potato in a near dying state and then just left it there for over 5 minutes. So now it's got quirk awakening and turned into a super potato.
How the f does that work?
I don't know. MHA quirk lore is really vague.
It's getting away.
Just let it be, it's just going to fight zombies.
How so?
In a potato-like way.
Ah well.